Donald Trump thinks the FBI may have sent a spy to infiltrate his 2016 campaign. U.S. officials say that's not true, but the Justice Department says they'll look into it. So who wins here? The panel tonight. Erin Gloria Ryan is here, contributing editor at the Daily Beast. Mike Morey is a former communications director for Democratic Senator Chuck Schumer. Alice Stewart is CNN political commentator and former communications director for Republican presidential candidate Senator Ted Cruz. And John Laval is a regional vice chairman of the New York State Republican Committee. Great to have you guys here. Alice, so following the president's demand for an investigation, top justice officials say they're going to hand it off to the inspector general to take a look and see if there's any political motivation in the FBI's confidential source with regard to Donald Trump's campaign. If the inspector general comes back and says, no spy here, is the president going to accept it?
Absolutely not. Because, look, he thinks any probe into this election, his campaign, the outcome of the election is delegitimizing his victory. I wish he would just recognize the fact he won fair and square. The electoral college process was victorious. He won. And the real question is whether or not Russians, we know that they infiltrated our election process. Did they influence? And what are we going to do to stop it in the future? I think we need to forget about whether or not there was a spy in his campaign, which I don't believe. But I think we need to look at the real concern is Russian interference and potential influencing of our elections.
John, is it all noise? I mean, when you hear what Alice is saying, it makes a lot of sense.
First of all, he has accepted that he's won the election. It's the other team that hasn't really accepted that he's won the election. And the president, I believe, will accept it if he feels that it's a thorough investigation.
No.
And I think it will be.
Okay, because
I believe he does accept it.
But here's why I ask. Because if you take a look at what the president has said, again, the president has no problem contradicting himself and not being held accountable for it, but he has criticized this inspector general just in February, calling him, saying, isn't he Obama's guy? So do you have confidence he's actually going to accept what the inspector general presents? Because where does it end then?
I'll say this.
Maybe it doesn't.
I think the right decision was made to send it there.
Okay.
So that's a good thing.
Okay.
That's a good start. And I do think he'll accept it, but you have to understand, it is absolutely unthinkable. And I think John Corwin said it best, Senator Corwin, that, that the leader of an opposing political party may have, tried to, infiltrate a campaign using intelligence. Now, if it comes up that didn't happen, well, that's what they're going to look into.
There currently is no evidence of it.
No, that's what they're looking into.
There is
There's
no
obviously
evidence of it.
something.
There is no evidence of it.
No, that's not necessarily
There's currently no evidence of it, though.
There's an inference that there could be, and that's why the president is
the only inference that there could be comes from the president of the United States. This is an informant. In every investigation the FBI conducts, whether it's for the mob, whether it's for bankers, whether it's for politicians, you have informants who talk to people and give information. For the president of the United States to suggest a spy was in his campaign and put there by political adversaries sounds bonkers.
He's not just an informant, someone who was there and decided to cooperate.
In fact, this gentleman,
sent into
that is not true. This man was actually talking the reports say, talking to Carter Page as far back as 2013.
But he was
long before Donald Trump was running for president.
He was sent to
long before Donald Trump was running for president.
Let's just say that Donald Trump is right. Let's just follow this bonkers logic. And let's say Donald Trump is right and somebody was sent to spy on his campaign. Right. Spy on his campaign for political reasons, which they did not reveal until after he had won the election. Worst spies ever. And also, and then they waited until he'd been president for over a year to reveal that they had been in. What are they waiting for? Why were they holding their hand?
Let's also not follow the logic. Let's just stop. Let's just stand here and say, could this, and color me cynical, yes, I know if you've watched the show, could this all be, Alice, just to make noise and confuse people and try to discredit any Russia investigation that exists?
Absolutely. To go back to my absolutely. No, here's the thing. Look, I want this president to succeed. I voted for him.
Guys, Alice is a Republican.
I am.
I just want to remind everybody.
But here's the thing. They say they have done nothing wrong. They say they didn't, they collude. They didn't coordinate with the Russians. And they want to fully comply with the investigation.
Right.
Then hands off, sit back, work on planning this North Korean summit, work on continuing to create jobs, and work on this great tax plan, which I fully support, and let this investigation play out. Let Robert Mueller do his job. If you want to hand over information to those that have asked for information, I think we do have the right for congressional oversight on this, but stand back and let's play it this way,
John. If this kind of goes goes together, right? You've got look into the spy issue and also hand over confidential information to lawmakers about the Russia probe that is still underway. If this is okay to happen under a Republican president, are Republicans going to be okay with it if a Democratic president asks the same thing in the future?
I would assume so. I mean, why shouldn't they be?
I will say
there's an inference that there could have been an impropriety. It's being asked to be looked into. There is nothing wrong with that. In fact, the question about the Russian investigation is, have we expanded the scope? What is the scope? And that's what needs to be better defined, and it needs to be focused. And no one wants any country infiltrating, our country, like participating in our elections or influencing our elections.
I feel like
the Chinese have tried to do it. Many countries try to do it.
I hope every American would agree that they don't want Russia infiltrating.
We should talk about China, too.
We talk about China a lot. Let's talk about what I want to talk about, though, right now. Which is the fact that the Secretary of Homeland Security, thank you, Secretary of Homeland Security, we all heard the same soundbite, and I'm not sure even what the question is to ask, and that's my job right now, is to ask a question, because I'm confused as does Secretary Nielsen, did she not read the 2017 intelligence assessment, or does she not believe it? I can't figure it out.
Neither, and she knows that she is probably on the thinnest of ice with the President of the United States right now, largely over what he believes is her lax enforcement of border security.
Oh, you think she misstepped by trying to walk a thin line?
Well, I think that what she's doing is just playing to an audience of one. She's already in hot water with the man. If she even suggests that somehow there's any validity to a report that suggests there was foreign interference in an election, and that it was on behalf of the president in particular, she's probably out the door. She barely has a job as it is.
Well, do you cut her some slack then? Because, right, she is on thin ice.
I think it's really interesting to take a look at her response to that in the context of the way that other members of the Trump circle have responded to questions that could have led them to something incriminating. I don't recall does a lot of heavy lifting. It does a lot of heavy lifting in Don Jr.'s testimony. It did today with Secretary Nielsen, and it did with Sessions in front of, testifying in front of the committee. It is something that they're leaning on a little bit too hard, in my opinion. I think it's pretty unplausible that she didn't.
I don't recall. That's my new bumper sticker. Coming up, everybody, from the Nobel Peace Prize to meeting on hold. Donald Trump says he may not meet Kim Jong-un next month after all. Is this bluster? Is this managing expectations? Is this some sort of strange chess match? I don't play chess. I think I don't need to tell you that again. That's next.